Good morning, my 1% friend. Can I continue calling you 1%er?
You see, you and this 1%, this thing put giving me real problems. The amount of people asking me, but since when you are 1%? Since when this, since all I try to tell them is, hello, if you take on everything that people tell you, you'll stay home in a dark room. You're not coming out to talk. Because Trinidad is the most famous place for Papi Show and Mama Guy and all kind of things. So when you and I talking about our 1%, that's our business. That is nobody else's business. So I'm going to ask your viewers, if you don't understand what is going on here, then yeah, maybe you should check yourself. Anyway, welcome, Dennise. I am very glad as I don't know how many 1% friends you have, huh? But anyway, I'm glad I'm one of them.
Stephen, I have plenty 1% friends. However, I don't love all of them.
This hour today felt in Big Stone already. Nice. Very good.
Yes, Stephen. So, Stephen, what are we talking about this morning? What's on your mind?
I look at this thing been bothering me, huh? Dennise, for the last however long, I've been passing a normal commute to work. I pass the Cedarwood Street, Morvant Aquatic Center. Basically, the swimming pool that was built in Morvant in 2021. And do you know, I would think maybe for a year now, and especially what was very worrying, that this August holidays had passed, July and August, which is about to finish. School is going to start in 2 weeks' time. Do you know that there's not been one single day that pool has been used? And it's a pool built for competitive swimming. They have the lanes, they have the proper depth, they have the length, they have the width, they have everything going for it. So much so that I said, look, let me just drive down there and see if there's something else that is happening that I could understand why you would want to build an excellent facility, regardless of where the neighborhood is, and just leave it and let it just rot. Okay? And I drove down there and I met two people. One was a pieman on the corner, and then one was a young guy. I don't know, maybe 14 years old. I'm bad when at guessing age, but about 14 years old. And I said, is there something that is wrong with the pool? Beside it not being used and beside it not being maintained, because the pool is a Gulf Aparia green, okay? So it's obviously you can't use it. And one of the pieman told me, he said, well, what is it that they were fixing the football field and the dust from the groundwork that was being done was getting into the pool and the water went off, obviously, and that was the end of that. But it's over a year now. The young man who was standing there, the young boy who was standing there, he told me, he said, Mister, that's why I learned to swim. That pool was real good. All of us, a whole section of us used to go. The regiment provided the coaches and what have you, and he said it was properly used once that pool was commissioned. And it was commissioned in 2021. I understand that the Morvant Laventille area has 4 swimming pools. Okay? I have no idea of what the other 3 are. But what my beef with all of that is, we're talking every day in the papers. You're seeing gang and gang leaders bawling truce and they're shaking hand and they're hugging up and they're singing songs, I don't know. And the minister is there and what have you. Okay, so when they walk out the door, what is the position? You have no more CPEP to give gang leaders work that they could earn, all right? What are you giving? And forget the gang leaders. What I am talking about, that same young boy who was standing up there by the pine man. What is he going to do? What did he do for July and August holidays? August. Okay, I'm not going to second guess. Maybe he was very productive. But the fact of the matter is, when you build these community pools, there's a purpose of putting these facilities in place, whether it is a football pitch, cricket pitch, tennis courts, you name it. There's a purpose. And that is for the community to come in and mix and exercise and get to know one another, to become how to compete, because that is also an avenue for so many young people. Okay, sport. All right, and we see it every day. So my thing with that is, how can public authorities see something like that happening? Spend all of that money, because apparently from what I saw, $4.5 million was spent to build that facility. And what happens? You build the facility and boom, shut it down. It's not your money. It's like public library in Chaguanas. That public library was started before I exited office in 2015. The public library is boarded off with expense. The majority of the construction of the building has been completed, and nobody thinks that is not your money, that is taxpayers, that is Dennise and 1% partner, their money that went in partially to build and construct those facilities. And it is as though they don't exist. People could, the minister, the MP, the councillor, the mayor could drive past the Chaguanas Public Library every single day, and nobody thinks, maybe I should make a call and find out what is going on here. It's sad how we treat public funds and how we treat our communities, where as though if they can't fend for themselves, too bad for them. Left them right where they are.
What I am seeing is a lot of focus on infrastructure and an assumption that once you have the infrastructure, things will change. And that is not happening because, for example, where you talked about that swimming pool, this has been August vacation. And if the young men and women in the area didn't learn to swim or didn't do something that is really good during their vacation, then moving to crime and violence is a little easier. So what I am not seeing is our focus on how do we ensure that our young people learn to do things that make a difference to them. What we're looking at these days is who are the gangsters and who are the violence people and so on, which is interesting because how we know them is also important. So tell me, do you see other areas in which the investment is on how to improve the people?
We always have these grandiose ideas of how to improve the people. The Jean Pierre Stadium, I think that is where they do. They use more over Carnival than for what it was actually built for. When last I had netball championships in the Jean Pierre Stadium?
Wow. Wow,
No,
Stephen, that
no, no, no. No, but my thing is, okay, the local cricket. When last you pass the Savannah and see every single pitch in the Savannah with cricket being played on it, from all the cricket clubs that were built around the Savannah and were allocated areas in whether it's casuals or I don't know, I'm from the East, all right? But the fact is, all these, you go ahead and you develop, the main thing is to dig dirt. That is the main thing in Trinidad. Dig dirt and pour concrete and walk away saying, I have my part. No.
But
Because
Stephen,
people will learn to play cricket.
want to comment on what you talked about digging dirt. You have described that in a way that people will say, but that's all right. However, the bottom line on that is who gets the contract. And that is the big issue that I get a contract, I make some money, whatever happened after, I don't care. Because oftentimes there isn't the follow up. So, coming back to that swimming pool and football field that you passed by, what do you think they should have done in the summer in that area?
Let us go back further. The person who came up with the concept and the idea, I do not know if it was a person like the MP, or was it the community that went to the MP and said, MP, we have no facilities for our children. Who came up with the concept and who sold the idea that we're going to build sporting facilities for our children or for the community for that matter? And that person could be the MP, it could be the minister, it could be the community groups in the area, whatever it is. Pouring the concrete is the easy part. That's not hard work. There's a truck that's coming and pour the concrete. The hard part is building and developing the programs and for the programs to continue to find the right coaches, to get the principals of the schools in the area to allocate days for these kids to be going there. What you're doing on a weekend, those kids should be busy the whole time. There's a certain sector of the society, I could tell you, all right? When July, August holidays come, those people's children busy whole July and whole August, okay? But those are paid for by parents to have their children in all kinds of schools, whether it's drama school, this, that, whatever it is, swimming, sports, whatever it is. But so what are we doing then with Cedarwood Street in Morvant? How can anybody, any respectable person in government or in a position to ensure that Cedarwood Street Morvant swimming pool was built, and then what? Walk away from it afterwards and just leave it like that? I don't know. People, they boast, I build a swimming pool. Yes, you build a swimming pool, but we gotta dig a hole in the ground and fill it with water and teach children how to. Yeah. But Trinidad and Tobago needs to understand that for donkey years, for decades, this is what the plan was. This is what we have done. Look at the velodrome in Arima.
Yes.
I think Percy says there, build a velodrome in Arima. Take a whole Savannah and build a velodrome where people used to play their football and what have you. I'm not saying it's bad to have a velodrome in Arima, but you removed public playing fields from the burgesses of Arima to build a velodrome that everybody had to pay money to go into the velodrome.
So what is happening now is that there aren't many places where people could just voluntarily go and play football, play cricket. They could go for a run, they could go for a walk, they could have a picnic. And that to me is so important in our island, because our island is full of spaces where what we should be doing is ensuring that communities can go there. Because if communities can't go there, then people don't have much interest in their personal development. So, Stephen, you talk about all this crime thing and all of this gang things and so on. How are we transforming this country? What are we doing?
It's going to be a multi-pronged effort to be able to do that, because the communities that many of these gang members come from, basically broken communities. And I tell you something, COVID shutting the education system down for 2 years during COVID, Dennise, did nothing to help the situation. Because when you look at the age of the gangsters these days, it's the age coming down, into what have you. But children are children, all right? And unless you can get your children involved in something meaningful where there is something to work towards, regardless of whether it is sport, it is drama, it is music, whatever it is, you have to be able to take communities and build them, but build them in a way that the children want to do this. I want to play pan because I'm not a good footballer. Every time I bowl a ball in cricket, the ballers go and bust somebody's window or something. I want to play pan. Where is my access to a steel band? I could tell you, Maraval Village, we have no steel band in Maraval. None.
Yeah.
The hard courts in Maraval is a parking place. Okay? The football field, I can remember the last on the ground there. All right? So there's work to be done, a lot of work to be done to get that up and running.
And my priority in terms of the work that has to be done is for us to invest in our young people, ensure that they are educated well, ensure that they can choose, do I want to do music? Is it pan that I want to do? Or what other kind of instrument do I want to learn to play? So ensure that our young people are able to choose what they want to do in their life. Ensure that our younger people get some jobs. And I am not seeing that happening. Ensure that we have some mentorship situations where young people can associate with older persons who they can help them talk through what do you do, what's the evidence, what is needed, and so on. Ensure that the education system, and I have real challenges with the education system because we say the system is right, but when I look at some of the schools and I look at the children going there and coming out of it and so on, I am not very convinced that the education system is really working on our children. So I think that our biggest or most important area is really to focus on our children and what are we going to do to ensure that our children don't choose violence and gangs instead of choosing how can I make a difference to myself in my own country.
But Dennise, look at you're talking about education. So, okay, I'm wrong man to talk about education. Okay, but I know the value. I know the value of it. The Nordic countries have just removed screens from their school children, and guess what? Go back in the library. We're back to opening books and reading books.
Yes.
The screens, they're taking the screens out of the schools of children. Okay. where they were leaders in that, and they realized this thing ain't working because unless somebody have a screen to walk around with, they can't do nothing. Okay? We just went and bought 21,000 screens for our school children. So again, a screen can't teach you how to play pan. A screen can't teach you how to bowl, at least not the way you want to be taught. All right. So I do feel that the successive administrations in the country have really and truly not been upfront with the population to really and truly say this this is the way in which this thing should be. Buying computers for children or screens is not the answer. Okay, getting recreational facilities going in every single Saurashid community is part of the fix. Not everybody is going to do it, but it is part of the fix. And I think part of the fix, it teaches children all kinds of things: communication, relationships, all of that. When you're part of a sports team, discipline. When the coach says you jump right when that happens, you have to jump right. So you understand what all that discipline and all of that is. So by the time you reach 20 years old, you have come through a system that has taught you how to live. Okay? And how to respect other people and all that. Sport is a major part of upbringing, without a doubt.
Yeah. So, Stephen, we've been talking about the violence, we've been talking about the things that have not been implemented for August and September while our young people are on vacation. We've talked a lot about our young people and what is needed to ensure that they transform themselves into children who we are proud of and who are not just interested or involved in gangs and violence. What is the last kind of message you want before we move away?
We going away?
No, before we end the show.
My thing for Trinidad, and it's not a message, my thing for Trinidad really and truly is, come on, we need to get down and to start to really and truly not only think about how this thing has to work and how we're going to fix it, but all of us have to be part and parcel of the fix. Okay? And if we can get ourselves involved in communities, I'm not a sports person. Okay? I don't even think I could pitch a marble properly. All right? There are other things. There are many other ways. And not everybody is a sports person. Not everybody is going to be a famous writer, but they can play, they have their part to play in society. And we cannot be looking at this, for instance, and I know we run out of time, and we cannot be looking at education as being SEA. And who the top 100 people in the SEA, they are the most brilliant people, okay? 21,000 children, okay? The top 100 are the only ones that are celebrated, okay? Let's start with that. Stop doing that, okay? All these children who have spent the last 5 years trying their best to deal with this thing in a system that is broken, and they're still trying, and you want to celebrate the top 100 at the end of the year. No, all those children, all 21,000 children have to be celebrated.
Right? So on that note, Stephen, we're celebrating 21,000 persons, not necessarily only the 100 who go to the top. We're trying to transform our country to ensure during August vacation, there are things that people can do. My message is focus on the people. What is your message?
People first. So many of them, you hear them saying that. It is the only way to do it. Pouring concrete, guys, is the easiest thing you could want to do. Paving, the second easiest thing you want to do. All of that is Sakai. Pick up the phone and call for a concrete mixer. That don't fix the society. Fixing the society is going to require a hell of a lot more than a simple phone call to a contractor. Okay? You have to fix the minds of the children first before you could even start to want to build a country.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Bye.
Bye, Dennise. Thank you.